So today I will talk about, don't worry if you don't know IT or don't like IT, I will not talk so much about IT. I thought indeed, as Dave said, I came here first time in 2013, second time in 2016, so it's 9 years I haven't been there. So when I started to present for this presentation, I thought about what is it that I didn't say last time. Now it may not be relevant because maybe none of you was there, but a few of you were there last time, but not so many probably. So what happened in the meantime? And of course, I always think, oh, I was already talking about Lean like 12 years ago, but I didn't know anything about Lean compared to what I know today. But today I also know how many things I don't know, and I still have to learn. And the more I learn Lean, the more I know what I don't know, actually. I will talk about my short introduction, and then a little bit about our life in Japan and what we discovered there. It was always my intention to finish my career in Japan for Toyota. I think it's not totally complete if you haven't been in Japan. So I left Toyota Motor Europe in 2020. I also didn't anticipate there would be COVID, and for 2 years we wouldn't be able to go outside Japan. and then we spent a very interesting time there. So I will talk also about the Lean ontology, which I developed as part of my PhD between 2014 and 2017. And then a little bit provocative, because many people these days say, oh, actually Agile didn't work. And if people equate Agile to Lean in IT, it's a bit annoying to hear that Agile is dead. So I will tell you how Lean can potentially save Agile. So usually I talk about all my history, but the older I become, the shorter I make the history. So I will talk only about the last 20 years. So in 2005, I started to work for Toyota, after actually 16, 17 years at Volkswagen and other things. And then I became VP and CIO of Toyota Europe in 2010. And I stayed CIO for 10 years, which is not so easy because a while ago, people said CIO means career is over. So to stay CIO for 10 years is already quite an achievement. And then I needed to do something else. So I decided to stop my career at TME and to start in Japan, actually, as a local employee in Toyota Systems Corporation, which is a 10,000 people IT that took over the IT of Toyota Motor Corporation for 90%, and also 3 existing IT companies that were already there. And so it's working essentially for domestic Toyota companies, but there are quite a few in Japan. So 3,000 internal people and 7,000 contractors work in that company. And I had the chance also to work a lot with TMC, because with my background, I was asked to do a number of global activities as sponsor for TMC as well. So when I retired, everybody told me, Pierre, we know you won't retire. And of course, they were right, but I wanted to prove them wrong. So I said, yes, I will retire. So for 3 months, I managed to not restart working. And then I restarted working. And so we created with my wife, who is there, my wife, Ryan, we created a company called Hakuba. Hakuba is actually a ski resort in Japan. But if you look at the Chinese characters, it's also both our Chinese names. And then I noticed that when I was at Toyota Motor Europe, I didn't realize how little people know about Lean in my own country, Belgium. So I felt the need to have more like a Lean Institute in Belgium. And so I decided, together with René Arnolds, who has done the Lean Institute Netherlands for 20 years, we decided to start an institute for Belgium as well, which was decided in June last year. So we are now part of the Lean Global Network with some of the guys who are here today also for other countries. So these are the presentations. Some of the presentations I did, I chose the ones in English, except the Lean Summit France last year, which was in French. And I highlighted the ones that were here over the years. I must say my memory said I came only once, and then I realized I came twice here before, so it's the 3rd time today. So our life in Japan. So we had to pull forward our flight by 2 weeks because actually there were no flights anymore to go to Tokyo. So we took the last flight and with no return. But we thought it would be for a few months, but it became actually a few years. And it was, in a way, we couldn't see the family but and the friends, except the Japanese friends who were there. But it was great because the country being closed, there were no tourists, so we could go around the country. There was no real confinement, so we could go to Kyoto without any foreign tourists. I think you will never be able to do that again. I hope, somehow. And so we set us the target to go to 47 prefectures of Japan, which we achieved in 14 months. When you set yourself a target, it's always much easier to achieve something. And so far I didn't find any Japanese person who had gone to the 47 prefectures because they didn't. They always think they have more time because they live there. But we had limited time, so we did it. And it's really great. People always ask me which one is the best. I can't compare Hokkaido and Okinawa, but it's very diverse and it's really great to go everywhere. And then we did a few other things. So I show some pictures. We saw a bear live in Shiretoko, Hokkaido. We went to Okinawa. We even went to support the Belgian cyclists at the Olympic Games, where no spectators were allowed. But the cycling, they could not prevent people from being along the road, so we could see them. And you see our house. And the final week we were there, we climbed Mount Fuji, which is not too difficult to do, but is the day I became 65, it was still very tough. From 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., it took me to go up and down. So I'm not sure I will do it again, but I did it. And then in Japan, okay, there are many things to say about life in Japan, but I just retained this one, which is respect for people, which is also one of the pillars of the Toyota Way. And you see that everywhere. So I just show two examples here, with a nurse kneeling down to listen to a patient. I don't know if it's like that in the hospitals in the UK or in Belgium. I know it's not like that. Or you see a schoolgirl passing by and causing a car to stop. So at the end, she turns and she says thank you to the car because the car stopped. So this is really everywhere in the education. Then, of course, I had a professional life in Japan. So my role was called advisor to the president of Toyota Systems Corporation, in charge of global strategy, which could contain many different things. So I always try to choose the things that would make sense, where I could contribute. So, for example, at Toyota Systems, I decided to have English classes. Okay, you here may think my English is very bad, but compared to their English, it was okay. I could teach. And it was more important that they could speak to a foreigner, especially during COVID, where no foreigners came into the country. So because to speak English with other Japanese people, they understand very easily, but to a non-Japanese person, it's quite difficult. And it was also good because we did it outside of working hours, so we had the possibility to talk about non-work related topics, and the people were much more open than during work, where there are all kinds of rules to follow. So I kept some very good friends from that. And also I gave a training to managers, because some people were very good and they were promoted to management levels, but they were not good in English. So we introduced, maybe some people hate me for that, but we introduced a minimum level of English that you needed to have to go to a higher level of management. Now, of course, I'm saying English is difficult for Japanese. Japanese is also difficult for English speakers, but they need a bit less to learn it in general, so it's a bit unfair to them. And I felt I saw so many good people that they really deserve to be able to express their ideas to a global audience, especially being part of a global company. So we named that training Fit for Global. And I had the opportunity to go to Woven by Toyota in Tokyo, that works on the Woven City. And so I went at the end almost once per week. So that was also very interesting, because that company had almost half of the people were foreigners, while in Toyota Corporation, Toyota Systems Corporation, where I was basically the only foreigner. There were a few Chinese who were hired locally, but I was the only expatriate to work in that company. And then for Toyota Motor Corporation, I was global sponsor for TPS and Agile, which links to our topic today. I did not expect at all, but I gave trainings of TPS in IT, because actually TPS used to mean Toyota Production System, which means that Toyota thought this is for production guys. And for a long time, it was not applied to IT or HR or finance. But today we say more TPS means thinking people system. And of course, everybody in the company should think. And while in IT, originally, they worked a bit more like the IT companies were telling them, like IBM and so on, and they were not lean. So when we started, actually, Akio Toyoda said we should apply lean also, or TPS also to IT. That was in 2020, exactly when I came. So because I had the opportunity to apply Agile and Lean in Toyota in Europe, so I found myself giving training to the TMC people in Lean IT, which was very interesting to do. And okay, I was a sponsor for some other things. So it was interesting because I got questions that I never got. When I decided in Belgium to implement Agile methodologies to IT, to the European IT of Toyota, everybody said, oh, something new, great, yeah, let's try. Yeah? But in Japan, they said, why? Of course, and they asked at least 5 times why. Yeah? Why should we do that? So there's something in Japan called the IPA. So it's, let me drink a bit. It's not beer. The IPA is the IT promotion agency in Japan. And one of the first comments I got is, oh, but we cannot do Agile because the IPA has not codified yet the way that we should do Agile in Japan. So that is really something that I did not expect at all. Yeah? And I said, yeah, but Toyota is a leader, so we should do it. We should start doing it, and then others will do it. Yeah, but in IT, it should be rather a Japanese IT company who should start. Anyway, so then luckily the IPA worked on this and we had the possibility to start. And then there were other questions like if we do a pure migration, maybe not doing Agile will be more efficient because we know exactly which technical migration we want to do. There's no need to do sprint and change direction every week and so on. And maybe also the way the Japanese people worked is they work very steadily every week, but it looks like we Westerners need more to have like short-term goals, deliver something in 1 week or 2 week sprints, because otherwise we tend to postpone and procrastinate, and then in the end we do 90% of the work in the last week of the project. So from that point of view, to cut in smaller pieces like Agile works. But they had applied so many good principles to the way they worked in waterfall that they were actually already quite efficient with waterfall. So I changed a bit my mind that in some cases, maybe it was not the priority to do Agile. But still, we ended up having 1,000 people practicing Agile after I left, so after 3 years and 4 months. So they could embrace, and it's a bit different from what I would do in other companies, but there I used the standard TPS words to explain what Agile was doing. Like there's a daily stand-up, maybe it's called Asakai at Toyota, so I say, oh, it's our Asakai and so on, or reflection, it's called Hansei or Furikaeri in Japanese. So by using those words, I could explain better why the Agile practices were actually very close. And they are based, for example, Scrum co-founder Jeff Sutherland said, okay, I owe a lot to Toyota because I took the practices that came from Japan and from Toyota. So like this we could explain, but it took me much more time to explain. And of course, as always, it helped me understand much deeper, why we were doing that, which I didn't give enough time to reflect on that. So usually people show this temple of TPS in various forms and shapes. But in IT, I say let's say the right pillar, which is the first chronologically, the jidoka pillar is about quality. And then the just-in-time pillar is about agile, so reacting just in time to what is happening, delivering value just in time to the customers. And I put cybersecurity close to safety first, which is fundamental. But when I started to do my PhD in 2014, I had the opportunity to go to many many factory visits, and every time I learn a few new Japanese words, and I always thought, okay, what would it mean for IT? And when I tried to put all these concepts, I didn't have enough space on this temple, and it was not always easy to know, should it be inside the temple, at the top, at the bottom of the temple, and so on. So by putting all the concepts together, I created, you don't have to read it, but I created this, which I call the ontology of IT, where I have all the concepts I had at this time, but this is a living document. It continues to evolve. And then I extracted from that the top-level concepts that are the most important, and I still kept just-in-time left and jidoka. Sometimes we say stop-in-time on the right side. The fundamentals are the four at the lower part, and the people-related one, customer first, stakeholder satisfaction, and making people, or hitozukuri, are at the top part. And then what I will do today is zoom on the jidoka pillar, which is sometimes called automation, but I don't like this word because it doesn't even exist in English. So sometimes we say stop in time, but stop in time doesn't convey the whole meaning, because it's not only stopping, it's also taking action, solving the problems. But this first pillar is much less known than the just-in-time pillar. And so that's why I'm doing more work on this these days, and with your help, we will also make some exercises and see where we can go. So the jidoka pillar is, people say stop and take an action, and you have this. You have here this person in the character. So normally the do of jidoka should be written in Japanese without the person. So this is a character that Toyota has adapted to include the human person, the human being. And it's, okay, stopping automatically. So either the machine stops automatically, which is what happened originally with the automatic loom of Sakichi Toyoda. But later also in the factories is the worker who could stop the line when they have a problem. And actually behind this, there's a deeper meaning, and the deeper meaning of jidoka is to help people. So this is a picture from the memorial house of Sakichi Toyoda, where you see Sakichi here helping his mother, because his mother had to look at this loom the whole time to see if a thread would break, and then stop it manually, solve the problem, and restart. So he thought, if I could stop it automatically, my mother wouldn't have to look at this machine all the time. So that's why it's called separation of man and machine sometimes. By the way, when you go to Japan, please visit the museum. It's quite interesting. And so you have the machine stopping by itself, which means that one person could then look after 30 machines, because the machine would say I have a problem, instead of the person having to look constantly. And in a factory, it's the same. The person who has a problem pulls the hand-on cord or pushes the hand-on button, because now it tends to be a button in the factories in Japan, and they can get help immediately. And this is very counterintuitive. And I will ask you questions in the learning session, but about IT, what does it mean? What does hand-on mean for IT? Do you really stop the whole of IT because one programmer has a difficulty? So it's really important to think how to apply it. And I still feel my job is not complete because I couldn't apply it completely the way I wanted to when I was in charge of IT for Toyota in Europe. So I'm continuing to work on this. But the basic meaning is help people, because if you're a worker and you have a difficulty and you're sure somebody will come to help you, then that is really the key of jidoka. So you will get help, because if the line is stopped, of course somebody will come to help you. So you're forcing your managers or your leaders to come to help you. So there are 3 methods in jidoka, which I will go through a bit quick this time, but a bit longer in the learning session. So hand-on, pokayoke, and Jikotei kanketsu. Don't worry, I will say what it is. First one is hand-on. So hand-on originally is an old paper lantern. So why is it used for this? is because there's a light saying if it's red, there's a problem. Maybe if it's yellow, and sometimes it means you're doing a plant maintenance, or if it's green, it's running normally. So it shows you the status. So if it's red, you know there's a problem and you have to do something. It's in IT, it can be a management board where you see the big incidents. For example, I had next to my desk a board saying if there was a big incident in IT and a customer of IT would call me, I would know there's a problem because it would display. And if it didn't display as a problem, then it's the customer who tells me there's a problem, then it's bad, and then I surely have to take an action. You have, in Agile, it's called impediment escalation. So the ability of the people who have a problem to escalate, to say, I have a problem, I need help. In the factories is the hand-on cord. So the workers are encouraged to pull the hand-on cord when they see a problem to avoid the quality to flow out. And so either the machine stops itself, or the worker can stop the machine or the process if they see a problem. So this is the meaning of hand-on. In IT, you have also the OBEA, which is a kind of management hand-on, because you can visualize the whole situation of IT. You see which projects are struggling, and then you can focus on these projects and see how to support them. Pokayoke is, which means error prevention, let's say, or protection from errors, is actually better than hand-on, because a pokayoke prevents you from doing a mistake in the first place. So hand-on is signaling there has been a mistake. So of course, it's always better to prevent it. So in English, we still say foolproof design, but actually to say foolproof means the person is a fool. It's not very nice. That's why the Japanese, who started with bakayoke, they changed baka into poka, which is more neutral. We're not saying you're stupid, because we're all stupid, we all make mistakes, but we want to prevent them. So the origin is at the assembly line. You have many devices that prevent a worker from picking the wrong part. Maybe it will say beep, beep, beep if you take the wrong part, and then you know you have to take another one. It is everywhere in our lives, and so that's quite interesting to do in your daily life, to check which kind of pokayoke you have around you. So I will keep the cushion for last, because that's one we have at home. You have examples. I don't know, I start from the right, but in a gasoline station, you have half a pokayoke, because I think you cannot put diesel into a gasoline car, but you can still put gasoline into a diesel car. So it's interesting that nobody has invented a pokayoke that works in both sides. So maybe some suggestion for some of you to come up with a good idea there. So you have ATM, where you have to take the cash, take your card before you take the cash, because you're there to take cash. They are almost sure you will take cash, but you may forget to take your card back afterwards. So if you take your card first, then it will work better. You will forget less often. In a car, the safety belt is also a pokayoke, but some cars will just beep, so you can say, well, okay, I accept the beep and I still go without having my safety belt, so it's not a complete pokayoke. The ideal one, between brackets, not everybody will like it, is that you cannot start the car if you don't have your safety belt on, or if you have drunk too much, you cannot start your car. Okay, I let you decide what's too much of a pokayoke. And then finally, the Jikotei kanketsu, which means self-process completion. It's much less known in general. That's why we will focus on this a bit more. But it's not less important. It's actually super important. But it's difficult to do. Some people find it boring, but it's really what will make sure that you have quality in your process. So in English, it's usually called built-in quality with ownership. That means every operator, and an operator can be a leader who has a management process, so has to have quality in their process to make sure that they have quality, they need to know when their work is good, what good looks like. And it's surprising in companies how many people don't know what good looks like, which means that they give something. Sometimes they don't even know to whom. A typical example is you make a report, but you don't know if anybody is reading your report, but you take a lot of time to make your report. But because nobody is reading it, maybe it's bad, but nobody will tell you. So you will continue to do a bad report that nobody is actually reading. So it's super important to be able to do that. But it's not easy, we will see. And okay, the principles of jidoka evolved into the spirit of quality assurance, which seeks to assure quality without depending on inspections. So that's the whole thing. You don't like to be inspected by others. If you're able to inspect yourself and produce quality, you will basically be more motivated. So Mr. Sasaki, who used to be the head of quality, and I think Carl, who is there, knows him very well. And he became also the president of Toyota Europe. He has taught a lot about quality and JKK in particular. And he was telling a story that somebody who is selling groceries is very often smiling. This person gets immediate feedback from customers. When the groceries are fresh and nice, the customer will tell him or her directly. And actually, as a result, they can have pride for their work. They get immediate feedback. If the feedback is negative, they can also take immediate action to correct so that they get positive feedback again. And maybe if you go to the session of Oriol, you will see in the Lean restaurant is also this idea that getting immediate feedback from the customer for the cook is very important. It's not only for the waiter who hasn't cooked anything. So if you say it was good, the waiter, okay, can pass the message. Maybe sometimes they don't even pass the message to the cook. So to get immediate feedback is very important. And then the work becomes more interesting also for everybody due to this confidence. So you can see here the two methods. So at the top, the traditional method of quality assurance where a lot of work is done and then at the end somebody is checking and saying, oh, these guys are bad, but then they have to correct mistakes. I had to do it myself in my career before Toyota. We were in another car maker and we made cars with a defect that took 8 hours per car to repair. And I spent the vacation to lead a team of workers who had to correct this defect on 500 cars. 500 times 8 hours. So actually it's much cheaper to stop the line immediately when you see a defect. With JKK, you build the quality into the process. So you have work, you have judgment, but done by the person who does the process. And if it's good, then goes to the next. But that means you need, and I will show it here, you need also to accept that the person will have the authority to stop when the quality is not there. Because usually there's time pressure and time comes before quality. So when the deadline is there, you give the work, even if quality is bad. You have done your work on time, and it will be the next person's problem to solve the quality issue. So that's, of course, not the right way to do. So you have, in JKK, the necessary conditions, or ryōkin joken in Japanese. So you need a good design, a good process, and a capable operator. And then you have the judgment criteria, being able to do a self-quality check, having the skills to judge, but also having the authority to stop the process. And then if that happens well, you will have a satisfied customer. So you have 5 levels of JKK. I will go a bit quickly on this, but you need to do flow-out prevention first. So look at the mistakes you have in your process, the defects that you're creating. I remember that Carl showed me the cabbage patch at the factory in TM UK long ago. And so you show the defects you can have. And then you have the feedback from these quality gates. You analyze the feedback. You identify the main concerns. And then you do one-by-one problem solving. And then you can establish necessary conditions and judgment criteria to achieve actual JKK. In IT, jidoka and just-in-time come together in DevOps. So you have continuous flow, continuous integration, continuous deployment of IT systems. And you have now automation of quality checks that make it possible for the developers to put their things in production instead of always fighting with operators who say, no, it's not okay, and so on. because the developer can check the work by themselves. Many people say Agile is dead, but the reason is that many people have understood Agile means I can decide every sprint what I do. So if I go left one sprint and the next sprint I go right, it's okay because we are Agile. But you should not forget to have a direction. And that fits very well to the presentation of Hoshin, because you will, with Hoshin, you will at least have a direction. And the step number one is to know what is the goal you are pursuing. And then you are looking at your current condition and you want to get to your ultimate goal gradually, but you have obstacles. And that's where you really need agility. But don't forget the Hoshin, which is in Lean, but is not mentioned in Agile methods. So when I look at the 9 components of the ontology, you have many which are in Agile, surely just in time or continuous improvement or visualization. But customer first already, you need a good product owner in Agile who will know really what is a good product. Problem is many times you get as product owner somebody who has never done this job, and then they can have no vision of the product. Then it's a very bad start for an Agile project. And then you have a number of things which are done partially, so stakeholder satisfaction, sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. Actually, developing people, there's something in Agile to develop people, or you have also some undone where people can raise impediments, but this is done partially compared to all the tools that we see in Lean, and surely to the Lean philosophy. And then jidoka is done actually very little. And safety, I haven't seen anything in Agile about safety. This is a simplified Lean and Scrum mapping. So where you see that, for example, your sprint in Agile or in Scrum is a takt time. You have escalation, impediment, raising is undone. The sprint cycle is a PDCA. You have some Muda elimination. You have the role of the product owner, which is similar to the role of chief engineer at Toyota, but not exactly the same. And you have Genchi Genbutsu because you do your sprint reviews with your customers instead of seeing them after 3 years. But as I just said, some of the things are not there. So my recommendation is to be agile, because sometimes even Toyota becoming so big has not been very agile anymore. So to learn to do minimum viable product is something very valuable also at Toyota, is what Sakichi did at the very beginning. But later when the company became huge, sometimes it took months to deliver something. So to take this aspect from agility is good. But then the Lean principles and philosophy add a lot to make agile successful. So then you have the TPS Agile practitioner, which is the best of both worlds. So thank you for your attention. And if you really want to read my PhD, it's freely available, 250 pages. It's done at the University of Strasbourg, but it's in English. There's a summary in French at the end. But I'm making a shorter book out of that, so please watch this space. And you can reach us at the Lean Institute.be, but of course, if you're in the UK, just go to them and not to me.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest Lean content.